Welcome to the replay section outside of the deck profile. That usually is part of the deck profile part 2. The other one was Tournament. This one is Melffy Vernusylph. At least technically there's Melffys in here. This hand is mainly to showcase the Vernusylph playstyle because the Vernusylph playstyle is somewhat new. Melffy you probably have seen before, or at least like it's not as convoluted, it's not as complicated as Vernusylphs can be at times at least. Plus there will be a second replay where the Melffys at least make an appearance, so there's that. This time we have a hand that is basically just Vernusylph stuff. We have another cards that can technically, if you'd be running the yugioh cards, could be searching them to hand as well. But this one is just for the Melffy style as well. You usually want to use these kind of cards like bait Ash Blossoms, for example, because Ash Blossoms are quite annoying on most of the other Vernusylphs because you lose 2 cards because they all send materials from the hand as cost. So they send themselves and the other card you discard as cost. And then if it gets negated, well, you're a bit screwed because you already have massively run out of material, out of cards in hand, and you lose crazy amount of advantage. So what we'll be doing first here will be normal summoning Carbon search the very good Vernusylph. Would have been very annoying if this card didn't go through, but then we could have still searched it with this one, and then we could have continued on at least some plays and ended on some disruptions. We have started with quite the nice hand, 1 field spell, the 1 off in our hand, so we don't have to be searching this, and we have one of the traps that we can discard, and we can search the new well, we can search another one of the trap, so we can actually use the effect of the field spell to get into Vera, and we have one of the traps for our opponent's turn. So what we'll be doing next is we will be using the field spell, because the field spell has a second effect, which is you can actually bounce one monster on the field or in either graveyard and return it to the hand, which is very important, because during your turn, if you go first, this card actually does it, so you get material back that you use for the Vernusylph stuff. So in this case, we can actually get one of the materials that we sent to the graveyard back. We use the effect of our flower one first, because this adds us another trap. Now our opponent knows that we added a trap to our hand, but we will be discarding this trap soon, so they might not know that we actually have to, so they can only assume that our set card will be this one. I decided to summon this one back because we will be ending on quite a Vernusylphy board state at the end of our turn, and with the effect Vernusylph monsters you control cannot be destroyed by card effects. This is somewhat decent protection, I would say, and protects you from stuff like Raigeki, because this deck struggles in terms of, well, spell trap negates, because you do not have access to the whole Naturia Beast engine. If you want to run Naturia Beast, it's quite easy. You can plonk in 1 Naturia Beast in your extra deck, and you can run Tenyi Atara, because this is a level 1 Earth tuner, and you have very easy access to level 4 Earth monsters in this deck. So yes, this is a way how you could circumvent this if you want to, but in this deck profile we did not use this, because on the Ultra Race we were already quite maxed out. Next up, we will be adding a card back with the effect, because we haven't used the effect of this card yet, and the effect isn't too bad because you can actually draw into 1 card, hopefully another disruption or another card that actually does stuff for you, or even 1 more material, possibly a Melffy card even, then that could be doing some stuff as well. Now we're using the effect of this card, we send the trap to the graveyard, so we can actually banish it with the effect of this one at the end of our combo. And we summon back the World Soul Carbon. Technically could have summoned back itself, but with 0 defense I usually feel like maybe go for something else. But in the end we will be ending on 5 Earth monsters, which will boost the attack points of all of these Earth monsters by 1000. But I still, against certain OTK decks, especially in the best of 1 format, I don't really like leaving myself open with attack point monsters that are like below 2500, because then it's actually not too hard to OTK over that one a lot of the time. So yeah, that's why I decided to go for this one. I can't use the effect again, and the effect is mainly good if it's in the graveyard, because then technically some stuff can happen because you can put it back on top of your deck. So you could have gone for this one, but this card also has no effect on board, so in the end it didn't really matter. Like this, I could technically still go into rank 4 if I had stuff like Baguska if I wanted to, because that is still possible as well. But this time we don't need to use any of these kind of shenanigans, because we will actually end on a pretty decent board. We will be using the effect of this one now, because this can still search as a card, and we discard this one. Technically, well, we could have discarded this one, but I kind of wanted this, so we have 1 more disruption. We have quite a lot of monsters special summoned from the graveyard, so this will definitely be triggering and set up our plays for the next turn, which you will be seeing soon during the opponent's turn. So discarding this wouldn't be too smart. Now discarded this one. Technically we have this one not live during our opponent's turn because we could use the effect of this one now, but the problem is then we'd be using our trap. So I just wanted to add this for the next turn, and we already normal summoned at the start. Remember, this is something to actually keep track of, because sometimes you might want to normal summon a monster at the end of your turn, because then you have no cards in hand, and that then gets your soul charge live. So even if your opponent clears your board, you can basically bring it right back. Like this, we didn't have access to it, but technically I hoped that they wouldn't finish us outright and we could still be doing stuff during our turn, and then during the next turn, if the game gets even more grindy, this would still be doing certain stuff at least. And now we summon back this one because this reduces the opponent's monsters, well, all monsters that aren't Vernusylph monsters, by 600 attack points, which can be quite good as well, so your opponent can't just run over your stuff before you actually get the chance to do things. And now we can actually activate the effect of the field spell, banish the other trap that we sent to the graveyard, and summon out Vera, because Vera has multiple different effects that will be coming in handy during the opponent's turn. You can summon one earth monster from your graveyard, which is very, very strong. It's not even a Vernusylph monster, it's an earth monster, so technically you can set up your graveyard with cards like this, and then send one normal summonable earth monster to the graveyard and then summon it back with Vera. So could have done that as well if you had some crazy tech cards in here that we could have summoned back, like barrier statues and whatnot. But I do not run any of this in the budget build, so we did not do this. But we will have 5 earth monsters on board once I summon this out of my graveyard, this one, because then this card actually also gets a monster negate. If you control 5 or more earth monsters, you can negate that effect, and if you do, destroy that card. So that's quite helpful. Plus, the moment you summon the monster back from the graveyard, the field spell effect triggers again, so you technically have another bounce. But it can be quite annoying to get like the right timing of this. It's not too bad, but a lot of the time you'd rather have your monster negate first than the bounce. It just is what it is. So you have to play around this a little bit. And we have a multi-monster bounce, a bit like the Punk Synchro monster, where you can basically annihilate the opponent's board at a certain state before they can really do much. We're playing against Blackwing, not too bad at going second. They didn't have any hand traps, so tough luck on them, but they do have certain plays, at least with Black Whirlwind and everything. Not the craziest board that it will be ending on, but yeah, I decided to bring back the monster here, bounce one of the cards back to the hand, and so I have the monster negate for whatever they're coming up with, because I think they have that Link monster that can be quite annoying, not Blackwings, but winged beasts, and from that point onwards, you can make disgusting combos with certain rank 4 stuff. So I kind of wanted to make sure I have something on board to deal with this. Now that I saw what we're playing against, I thought, I don't think they're going to OTK me through this specific card, although they technically can, but I still have the bounce on board, so I thought I should be fine, even if I can still target some card on the field, target the Black Whirlwind and add this card back to my hand, so it's not going to be stuck in attack mode. It's still better than having it at 0, because then they could just run over it and turn off the negate of Era. I didn't want to risk that one, so attack position now it is. They summon the monster back. Technically they have enough material now for a level 8 Synchro, but I thought, let's get rid of the tuner. This tuner cannot be special summoned, so no way this is getting back from the hand this turn, and they have enough materials to do stuff. I noticed that they added this to their hand, so I knew they'd be gonna be doing some things. At this point I could have used the effect of the Vernusylph card, but then I'd be using losing my well, attack boost and everything else. So I thought, let's wait what kind of extra deck monster they go into. They could technically go into level 12, but I thought I could be dealing with this. I'm not sure, I'm not like the biggest Blackwing player. This might have been where I kind of messed up. I could have just like sent 2 monsters, even their tuner, back to their hand and hoped they didn't have much to go into. But like this, they actually go into a Link monster, they go into the Underworld Goddess, and the Underworld Goddess has one massive weakness, which is, well, first of all, can negate all monster effects, so I kind of wanted to chain the effect of the trap card now anyway. And secondly, this Link summoned card is unaffected by your opponent's activated effects unless they target this card. Well, guess what this one does? It does indeed target, so can just use this now, give these 2 back to the hand, and actually get my resource engine back to my hand, because next turn then I can be doing a little bit more stuff. I could have also sent this back to my hand. It didn't really matter too much which ones. I definitely wanted this one back, because with this one I can search whatever, but at this point we already have the OTK assembled, and you can already see like the disruptions weren't terrible. You can see how this deck is decent, but not incredibly oppressive. Like, it does stuff, and it does the stuff that does well, but also it's not amazing, and it has clear weaknesses, as most decks, because Vernusylph is mainly like an engine. The pure variant isn't, yeah, amazing, and obviously budget makes the deck a little bit weaker than it technically could be, because you have to run a lot of cards that otherwise you wouldn't be really running. Now we can set up some graveyard stuff. Technically, if for some reason they have something that stops us from OTK in here, I send to the graveyard Propagandic, because technically I can then, if I have access to a beast monster, one of the Melffys, then I could actually use this effect and make all of the monsters this, or technically I could go into the Geonator, because this one is a rock monster, so the effect also works and could turn every monster on board into beast or into rock. So this card would be somewhat of a floodgate against winged beasts, because sometimes they want to do link winged beast stuff possibly, so this would be annoying for them. But I thought I'm going to go for the OTK here anyway, so it didn't really matter. I just wanted to summon Vera out with the effect, then I can bounce one card back to the hand. I get this one because I can actually go into a nice draw, so I discard those two, draw into it. Don't actually draw into any cards that I can discard now with this one, but it didn't matter because this one on board was the more important one, because I can still normal summon this, so in the end it didn't really matter which way around you did it anyway. Technically I could have done it the other way, because and searched for the trap, so I have set up for the next turn if I can't OTK, but I knew I will be having enough damage, and I don't think I knew most of the cards that are in their hand anyway, so yeah, shouldn't be too bad here. Now using the effect of my favorite Vernusylph actually, so this card now can attack twice. We got the attack boost, and this is way over lethal at this point, and this is basically how this deck is meant to be played, which is quite fun actually. You can have somewhat of a controlled playstyle going and then finish within one turn. Obviously you need the right setup for this, and your opponent needs to have a deck that, well, isn't the most, like T-Element for example would have had a way better time in dealing with this than Blackwings for example did. Well, this was mainly to showcase the playstyle of this deck. And we will go on to the next replay where the Melffy engine is at least a tiny bit more included. Wow, massive transition here. You can already see in my hand that there are Melffy monsters in here. Melffy Fenny not really that helpful in this specific scenario, because you can only special summon one beast monster from your hand. This isn't the one that does actual good stuff unless you start with Kalantosa in hand, then this one can become in handy, but at the moment it is just another body on board, another card we can discard. We also drew into the field spell, but we have two of this, so you can argue it's somewhat, it's not like a bricky hand at all, but yeah, the fact that we drew the field spin again isn't anything crazy or broken here, because we also have some cards that don't synergize as well, so we will make do with how it is. We will be going into the field spell first, not really doing much here, and they will be flipping Dimensional Shifter. What does this mean? Well, this means that our Vernusylph engine is basically completely turned off. I'm kind of I'm grateful that I used this field spell first and then they chained that, because mainly they probably don't really know what this does, and they were like, oh, before they do anything, let's do this. Because if they would have chained it to my effect, then I think I would have just lost my monsters and my hand would be significantly worse. Not that I can really do anything this turn anyway with these two, but for the future I might be able to, because this only lasts, I think, 2 turns, once during their turn and during my turn, so the end of the next turn. So that is, I don't want to say it's fine, but this is where the Melffy engine actually helps a lot in comparison to what the Vernusylphs do, especially since Tearlament is around and people will be playing more of this card and more of other cards that are very annoying. And you can already tell by the sleeves what we might be up against. One of Tearlament's biggest rivals right now, and one of the decks that, yeah, a lot of people would want to be investing in right now, because it actually shuts down the whole Tearlament stuff a lot better than other stuff would. So yeah, we will be having issues with the Vernusylphs in that one, because Vernusylphs sadly also utilize the graveyard, so Necro Valley and so on, still problematic. What we'll be doing here is basically straight go to end phase, because that's all we can actually do. Trying to actually do this and add a card to our hand just for the lols at this point, because Fenny won't be able to do stuff anyway, and I kind of wanted to get the trap out because I can actually go into Vera at one point, which is something that won't matter a little bit. Not that Vera can necessarily do much in summoning things back from the graveyard, at least not at the moment, but I felt like since we have 2 of this anyway and we will be gaining resources, you can argue this might have been a stupid play, but Fenny doesn't really do all that much anyway, so now we can actually go into Vera. Vera can actually do, well, I kind of wanted to just get some bodies on board. Like I said, you can obviously decide what you want to be doing at this stage. This might not have been the optimal play here, could have done anything because you won't be able to get 5 earth monsters on board, nor will you be able to summon anything from the graveyard. So there's that. Could have waited with this whole play till the next turn. Anyway, I did it here. Didn't overly matter that much because the Melffys are going to do the majority of the heavy lifting at this point. So yeah, we at least got Vera kind of into rotation, not like overly, because technically they can easily get rid of it and it's getting banished. So this was like a massive misplay on my part in the end. I definitely should have waited with this one, but in the end you never know what your opponent is playing. So I thought maybe one more body on board could actually help. Maybe they have issues getting over this one if it's more controlled oriented deck. Who knows, right? Who knows? Because we can actually do stuff to them. They have the full combo. They have Necro Valley as well. We use our Wally here as quickly as possible just to be able to disrupt them with the whole Melffy Puppy combo. And we get out, obviously, Catty and Puppy, which is very, very good because that is 2 disruptions right there. That's why if you have triple Wally, play triple Wally and cut 1 Puppy and cut 1 Catty, because it kind of does the same stuff. But it's a bit better, unless Wally gets disrupted, then technically the other way around it can be a bit better. But then for 1 Wally you would only have 1 Puppy or 1 Catty in hand as well, so they could be easily as disrupted as the Wally. So yeah, triple Wally is obviously a lot better in that regard. We add Penny to our hand because Penny is very, very, very nice with the effect of Catty, because now we can actually go into the Synchro Monster and bounce 1 of their monsters on board. They go into the whole place that they can do with the Exosisters. They go Caspital because I think they probably ran out of monsters that they can special summon from hand, and if they want to go into the very good Exosister monster, then they need 1 more on board, which at this point I thought might as well pop the monster so they can actually not go into the whole place, because then they have used this effect and they can only go into 1 rank 4. I could have like left it a little bit. I could have also with Kalantosa popped Necro Valley, because Necro Valley is very, very, very annoying for this deck as well, but since we already are in the Melffy engine, it's not too terrible. So in the end, yeah, could have decided to do this here and might have had an easier time, but like this I got rid of most of their cards, so that was actually kind of neat here. What they decided to do is just set 2 cards. They possibly have a Vadis, which will be annoying for us because we do actually move cards in our graveyard. Very annoying, I know, but it is what it is. You can already see though, with this we generated such a crazy advantage, and technically I could have given that card back to hand as well. So it would have possibly been better to actually just pop Necro Valley, then go into the Synchro Monster and just send their Exis monster back. But I kind of wanted the stuff also to get banished because I knew the whole Dimensional Shifter was still live. Not that it really matters because there's not really a good way for them to actually gain these cards back. So in the end, popping Necro Valley and bouncing the other card might have been better, but then we would have also lost Penny, and I didn't want to lose Penny just yet because Penny has graveyard effects, and with Pony we do have ways of getting Penny back to our hand and do the synchro play more often. But if I would have done the synchro play during their turn, I would have lost them both to a Dimensional Shifter because they would be still sent to the banished zone when going into the synchro material. That's kind of what my thinking was, and I wanted to disrupt their plays, so that's why I didn't go for Necro Valley. But like I said, you could have done the other play and then just lost out on the whole Penny engine. Now I can actually do my Vernusylph combos. Well, is what I thought. They actually have Armament, which can be quite annoying because they now can go into not the craziest Exis monster, but at least one that does stuff. At this point, I probably, like I technically could have started out with the Vera effect and tried to steal this one, but then they could have still done this and then the whole stealing effect wouldn't have come off. So in the end, it is somewhat the same either way if you're doing it. And they will be reacting to me trying to steal that card, which doesn't matter at this point now, because yes, they banish it, but I still take care of the Michaelis and I get it back to my side of the field. And then a fun little thing is going to be happening, because you can only activate this effect once per turn, but you can only activate it once per turn, not this card. So I can be activating this effect as well and banish a card on board, and that's how I get rid of Necro Valley here. Then we can go into rank 2. Because a rank 2 is quite important. Puppy doesn't really have anything to special summon out of the deck anymore because we already have Wally, we have Pony, we have Penny, we have no Kalantosas left in deck. So Puppy was the one to be normal summoned here and actually used for the Ronin, because Ronin can now copy this one. I can actually get another Earth monster on board, which is quite important for the field spell, and I can actually get some high attack point monster on board. Also, sadly, Vera is banned, and there's not really a way for me to get this back, so I've already lost out on this one. But yeah, this is what they can do. We have another Earth monster, and in the end phase, we will actually be having 5. So these monsters will all be boosted by the effect of the field spell, and we have another card that we can set. Not that it really matters, because we don't have anything that is special summoned from the graveyard, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, can't really use this one, but in the future we could be using this eventually, so it's not terrible. And technically they could be using any removal to get rather rid of this card than this one, if they really want to, if they're scared of this. And then with this, we would, if we draw into any Vernusylph card, because we have such a good hand advantage with the Melffys, we would at one point have more bounces and more bounces whenever we summon stuff back from the graveyard and so on. So a deck that doesn't recover as nice, like Exosisters, have not like the easiest time of recovering. There's decks that definitely have a better recovery play than Exosisters. You can actually still do stuff with the Melffy engine rather than the Vernusylph stuff, and this is how this all works quite well together as a theme, because the level 2s can do things. You can already see Ronin can fill up the board, so you get closer to you getting the attack boost, and so on and so on and so on. So this is actually a very nice working combo, a very nice combination of archetypes that obviously some people prefer like the pure Melffys, and some people prefer like running the Vernusylph with the Ishizu cards and whatnot. But since they're both in the same pack, I thought I'll bring you this. Hope you enjoyed this. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I hope you have a nice day.